Welcome back to Africa Express. We are talking about food and security in Africa with Dr. Peters. Dr. Peter, I'm happy that you are with us and educating the audience about food and what Africa needs to do about food and security. You belong to an organization named AAAPD.
Right.
What does this organization do?
Okay. Triple APD, as we affectionately call it, the acronym stands for Association of African Agricultural Professionals in the Diaspora. This is a group of individuals that have agricultural qualifications, different disciplines within agriculture. As you know, agriculture is such a broad area of study. These are individuals that have professionals that have come together to say, look here, we know that Africa doesn't have enough capacity. We are part of the problem because we've been part of the brain drain, but we can also be part of the solution as being part of the brain gain. In other words, we can cross-fertilize our ideas and build bridges with our African institutions to say, okay, we came here, we know what we're doing, and we took positions in various institutions, and we can use that knowledge that we've acquired to leverage the work that is going on in Africa so that we can be a bridge whereby information resources, technological resources, and even financial resources can flow back to Africa to increase the capacity of African agriculture and institutions that are involved in African agriculture.
This group, you mentioned something that is very unique. You say you guys are part of the problem because you are not back in Africa.
Right.
You know, you're the brain drain.
Right.
And then you guys have decided to help solve the problem. Explain to me a little bit about agriculture. It's not only farming. What other components is farming, chicken, agriculture? What other components? So that if somebody that is watching this show would understand that we're not just talking about farming. There's other areas.
Well, agriculture is such a broad enterprise in the sense that you look at production to harvesting to making sure what you've produced is taken from the land and is marketed, it's made available to a consumer. And the value chain, there's a value chain, what we call the agricultural value chain. There's an upstream value chain and a downstream value chain. I mean, for the most part in Africa, the person who's doing the job is an elderly woman who is on the ground. But there are middlemen that are somewhere in there that are taking a produce and maybe marketing it out there and making more money out of it. Then the question becomes, what value is accruing back to that elderly woman who is tilling the land? There has to be institutions that are in place. Some people can be even politicians, others can be economic developers that are looking at this whole entire value chain to make sure that there is a multiplier factor that is coming out of the production of that small woman who is doing the work. And all that is part of agriculture. Agriculture doesn't happen in isolation. It's a part and parcel of the entire economic activity, the entire value chain.
And I think what our people don't understand is that it also creates jobs. Here we are, everybody is out looking for a job elsewhere where
Right.
they could have jobs doing various things.
That's true. I mean, probably 60% of people who are occupied in Africa, they are in one way or the other, they are involved in an agriculture industry. Some could be bankers, even they are extending loans to farmers, and they are taking the produce of farmers, they are working the agricultural commodity markets and so forth. That is all agriculture. I mean, agriculture has a multiplier effect. It's not only at the primary level. And that's why we are saying that this value-added agriculture has to be promoted, because for most African growers, they sell their produce at the primary level. But it is when you add value that you get the money. I mean, the point in case is the cocoa from Ghana. Imagine if the farmers were to come together and produce a factory that manufactures chocolate. I mean, they will get more value for their money instead of just selling cocoa to England or to whoever.
I understand that food crops like cassava, yams, that there's we've never had problems of producing enough of it. How come these are not being promoted? That we already promote, that we already have too much.
Unfortunately, some of these agricultural commodities, they also have political attachments to them. Like, for instance, if you look at produce such as wheat and maize, there are big political powers that align themselves around them. But then when it comes to crops like cassava and maybe sweet yams, we haven't developed yet institutions that help to promote that commodity. And we know that in Africa, we haven't had any problems of producing cassava. In fact, it is part of our green revolution, so to speak, because all that has been promoted as far as the green revolution was the grain crops, was wheat, corn, and so forth. But nobody has bothered to talk about sweet yams. Nobody has bothered to talk about cassava, yet they sustain an entire population.
Tell me, what can the Western world do, specifically U.S., do to improve or help develop African agriculture?
The best thing they could do is to leverage the work that is going on in Africa, to add value to the institutions that are on the ground that are trying to increase agricultural production, such as I mentioned about the CADIP, which is the Comprehensive African Agricultural Development Program. And that needs to be helped in terms of refinancing it, helping member countries to be able to implement the components of CADIP, providing their expertise in areas such as biosafety, in areas even in biotechnology, bringing all their resources to bear so that Africa could benefit from that. At the same time, they should be able to help Africa develop its capacity, even through universities, to bring in young, brilliant Africans so they could study and understand how technology is developed. And then they can go back and be part of the R&D in Africa, and we can have our own capacity of research and development. And who knows what else we'll be able to come up with.
Yeah, but do they have the obligation to do that? Why can't we send our own people out, send them abroad to these institutions to learn the modern technology?
Well, first of all, you have to have access to those institutions that have gone a little further. I think humanity has a requirement to show kindness to others. Yes, we're still down there, but others that have seen the light, they could come to help us so that we can be at their level. At the same time, we will never be a burden to them. I mean, look at it. Their approach has been food donations when there are crises. But why not help the capacity to produce enough in that area so that when there's a crisis, people will have the know-how to solve that problem rather than just waiting for a handout.
I see. U.S. has a lot of crops, seed, and fertilizers. Why can't we just start off, is it the bumper harvesting?
Well,
by taking some of these seeds?
Well, the problem with agricultural seeds and you name them, they are specific to what we call ecological zones. So whatever the U.S. grows, it may not fit within a Nigerian agricultural climate. It may not fit within Zimbabwean agricultural climate because of the differences in the weather patterns, the differences in the solar system in those countries. So there has to be specific solutions to specific areas. Like, for instance, you couldn't take corn from Iowa and then take it to, say, to Botswana or to Swaziland and expect to get a bumper harvest out of it. Chances are that it's not even going to produce an ear, but it has to be local technology bred from within that you are able to. But what we need is to increase that capacity to be able to produce our own solutions, Africans running their own and developing their own solutions.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Peters. You've been very informative. You are watching Afrik Express. Today, Dr. Peters has discussed with us about how to solve the African food problem and agriculture. And if you want to learn more about this, about food and agriculture in Africa, you can contact Dr. Peters at UMass Amherst College of Natural Sciences. And if you have any ideas as to how to help Africa resolve the food and agriculture program, please, we welcome your suggestion. Thank you again for staying with us and watching Africa Express.